Ania Wendzikowska zawitała nas do studia. Dzień dobry. Hello.
Cześć, hello.
I am enough just the way I am. A quote that I found in your book. Ku szczęściu, moja droga do spełnienia i wewnętrznego spokoju. Why am I starting with this right off the bat? Because I want to set the tone from the very beginning. Because it's simple, yet powerful. And I think many people don't truly believe in that statement.
I did not come up with this,
Right.
just to be clear.
Right. But it's a quote that pops up
Yeah.
in your book. It really stood out. I think many people struggle to believe these words. I know I certainly have. I believe you probably have as well. So my opening question for you is, why do you think it's so hard for people to truly believe that they're enough just the way they are?
It's such a huge question.
Right.
Such a huge question. If it was an easy question to answer, that I don't think that we would have so much trouble with getting there, getting to that point where we fully appreciate who we are. I think culture, society, upbringing, the process of growing up, our parents, our friends, the school system is not supporting us in believing that we are great and perfect the way we are. We are being sort of molded into this perfect version of a citizen, a daughter, a son. The school system is trying to crave everybody in a similar way. There's just no support for us being us. I think it's a minority of parents that have the kind of approach as Will Smith and his wife, Jada. I remember he told me, we are here not to interrupt our kids in becoming who they already are. So this belief that we come to this world as a soul, as a person, as an individual that has certain values already. We are already something, and we are just here to sort of flourish and become what we already are. But when they say that, most people think they're crazy, right? What are they saying? You're here to educate your kids. You're here to bring them up. But what most parents do, they just have certain idea of who their kids should be. And they just crave them into those, little versions of themselves, maybe fulfilling their own ambitions, the parents' ambitions.
Unfulfilled
ambitions.
Right?
So we become like these small versions of our unsatisfied, unhappy parents. And I don't want to put blame on the parents, because they do the best they can with what they got. They got the same programming, right?
It's a cycle, right?
Yes.
That started at some point,
It's
and they
a cycle.
just repeat it over and over again.
But nothing helps. Like, the education does not help, the educational system. The other kids, they don't help either. They point out everybody who's different. Oh, this person is redhead. This person is fat. This person is too skinny. This person is too tall, too high, whatever it may be. So there's just no support for that, for us believing that we are just perfect the way we are, right? So unless we were extremely lucky with the set of parents that we got, that it almost never happens. We have this job to do for ourselves, to discover it, to start believing at some point. But before we get there, like personally, each of us, before we get there, first we believe that we're gonna be good and we're gonna deserve love and affection and attention if we become something. So we get titles, education, success at work. We strive to be whatever it may be, beautiful, fit, successful, smart, super smart, right? So, or rich, or powerful. So we strive to like accomplish something because we believe that we're going to be valuable. And then the path takes us, some of us, to the point where we manage to make all our dreams come true, and the happiness does not come, and the fulfillment, the real, true fulfillment
The
does not.
fulfillment, right?
We still feel empty inside.
Right.
I know I've been there. And I know many people that have been there.
Right.
If it was doable through money, success, education, there would be a lot of rich people and famous people who are happy.
But
It's not the case. It's not the case.
Partnerem podcastu jest Tutlo, szkoła angielskiego online, która tak jak ja pomaga przełamywać bariery w mówieniu.
We will be talking about the journey of yours. I think many people can relate to that. I did while I was reading the book. It became somewhat of an epidemic in my eyes, that you meet the expectations of others and you build your self-esteem precisely around that. External validation, it's the expression that pops up, right? To meet those expectations. I want to know the very beginnings, because I feel like if we go back in time just a little bit, we can understand the reason why this book even, saw the light of the day in the first place. So I want to know the very beginnings. Have you experienced that sort of pressure in your life?
Well, it's going to be very obvious when I say it all begins in childhood. And it begins with conditioning. Conditioning on it's the programming that you get. So you do get love and attention and affection from your parents, but it's conditional. So
What do you mean by that?
Well, it depends in each home. With me, it was any kind of success. So good grades.
Świadectwo z czerwonym paskiem.
Of course. Being the best student.
Top of the class.
Of course. And it still wasn't enough. All kinds of Olympiady. All kinds of...
Rings a bell.
Yeah. The contest, playing piano, all kinds of stuff. So it just it was printed into my DNA that succeeding in anything is going to give me my parents' attention. So they see me, they're proud of me. They give me a lot of love and affection, something I craved. Why I craved that? Well, I didn't get enough of it. Does it mean that there was little of it, or did it mean that I needed more than I needed more than I got? That's how I have to see it. There's no way of sort of measuring it in any other way, right? To be clear, I do understand my parents and where they came from, and I think they loved me as much as they were able to with the cards that they got. That's always, if you don't transcend your generational trauma, you just repeat the cycle, as we said before. So it wasn't enough for me. But in those little moments when I brought świadectwo, or I won a contest, or something extraordinary happened in my life, I achieved something, then I got this full attention, lights on me, right? They were proud of me. They appreciated me for that. So when you're a child and you're like a clay, right? They can structure you in anything they want, and it's just so easy. It just was imprinted in me that getting something external, meaning any kind of success, is going to give me that sort of soft feeling that only parents' love and affection and attention brings into you, right? So that happened. And from there, I started believing that I have to be very successful. I have to be somebody important. I have to be best in something, anything, because that's going to bring me the sort of the feeling of safety that I got in those little moments.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the beginning of it. And then I was like, poetry was really important bit at my home. I used to read poetry with my dad, and I started being a contestant in those konkursy recytatorskie. So that was the beginning of my passion for acting. But I also believe that part of it was me wanting to be on stage, me wanting to be famous, me wanting to be loved or appreciated.
Striving for that feeling, right?
Because that's not what I didn't get. But of course, I didn't understand it at that time.
Mm-hmm. People pleasing, sort of also the idea that pops up. I came across this statement. It's sort of a question. I want to bring it up because it really stood out to me. What if instead of trying to impress others, you impress yourself? It's a great feeling. What do you do today to impress Ania? What do you do today to impress yourself?
Oh, it's a tricky one because I don't believe it's about impressing.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do believe you have to. You don't have to do anything. I think it's very helpful in finding that nice feeling of self-made happiness is to, obviously the gratitude, but also the how you feel amazed by yourself and appreciating yourself for those little victories at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. But the very important thing that I have to say here is don't try to impress yourself. Just try to be content with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be tender with yourself. Don't put pressure on yourself. My issue was to appreciate myself even in those moments when I don't achieve something. In those moments when I fail. In those little moments when I don't have the courage or the strength to do something. In those little moments when I need time to regenerate, to recharge, when I'm being lazy, when I don't want to do anything, when I don't achieve anything, still feeling valuable in those little moments. That was my challenge. And I think that's the most important thing. And the most important step in a path of self-discovery and self-development. Stop fixing yourself. Stop trying to impress yourself or impress others. Just like appreciate yourself for who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when no one's looking. When you're not wearing makeup or amazing
when
clothes.
You're in
or you're not
in your room.
You're just
Lights
you.
are off, right?
Yeah, you're just you. Maybe you didn't do so well today. And that's still fine.
External validation gets in the way of experiencing real inner happiness. Your words. Tej wewnętrznej pustki nie da się załatać niczym z zewnątrz. Work, for example. We often turn into work because we have this imagination that if we do it, the problems will go away.
That's
they
because
will disappear,
because
right?
we're afraid to stand still. It's like an addiction. Doing things,
Constant
it's like an addiction. It's like you feel valuable when you're making use of yourself. If you're doing something, at least clean your apartment, right? At least do the laundry. At least cook something. Because if you're not doing anything,
if you're not
just
productive.
Exactly. Then you're nothing. So that's the trap. I strongly believe that's the trap. And people who are very productive and people who are ambitious, they are afraid that if they start being a little more gentle with themselves, if they allow themselves to be lazy, everything's going to fall apart because this is my only driving force. So I'm going to tell you and all the other people that are listening to us, that it's to the contrary. If you allow yourself to take a breath, to stop the addictive cycle of doing things, you're still going to do things, but maybe you're going to move a little bit more towards your real purpose. Because that silence, that stillness allows you to discover what it really is that drives you. What is really the direction you want to go to? Like, if you keep doing things, sometimes it's just completely irrational. It's chaos, right?
Right.
Counterproductive, actually, when you think about it. You think you're productive because you keep doing things, but is it really the right direction? Do you really have to do so much? Maybe if you wait for it's like you're waiting for the wave.
Right.
And you stand up once the wave comes, and then you go really quickly with less effort. It doesn't have to be so hard, difficult.
One could argue that it's easier said than done when you're in a society and you're bombarded with those stimuli all the time.
No one says it's easy.
Social media doesn't help, does it? You're constantly comparing yourself to others, likes, shares, comments. I want to touch upon that now, because I feel like that's what's important nowadays. What's your stance? What's your take on that? Are we living in a bubble of constant comparison? It's a question I have for you.
It's a tough one because we tend to compare ourselves. It's the natural quality of our brains. It's evolutionary because we used to compete for any kind of goods, for the food, the shelter, the potential partner. So it's
ingrained in us.
Totally. And we tend to do it because it was a guarantee of our survival, right? The only difference is that the pool of people that we compare ourselves with is huge now. It used to be only the village, right? The neighbors, your class. But now suddenly it's the whole world.
It is indeed.
And the comparisons become ridiculous because why would I compare myself to the Kardashian or somebody famous or somebody living in another country with a completely different set of challenges, but also set of what is the start that they had, right? The privileges and the conditions that they have. It's completely ridiculous, but we still do it.
Right.
So, but it doesn't work. It never works. Even if we compare ourselves to the people that do better than we do, then obviously we're gonna feel terrible. But the American scientists that measured it, they claim that even comparing ourselves to somebody who's not doing that well, that does not help us anyway. It does not bring our happiness level up. So comparison does not work, doesn't bring us happiness. So what I would advise is turn down your usage of social media. I tend to use Instagram because it's one of my fields of work. But I don't watch other people. And if I do have people that I follow, it's usually the things that I'm very interested in and the things that bring me up. So I watch other people's accounts that deal with all the self-development things. So then I watch inspirational videos, and this is something that gives me tips what to do to sort of be more peaceful and happy. So I try to be very, strict about what I watch. So if something is bringing me down, I keep looking at somebody's feed. And even if we're friends, I'm just going to silence it because why would I bring it to my attention? For some reason, it just maybe somebody just fall in love and I'm still dealing with the breakup and I'm still single and it just doesn't bring me any joy. So I'm just going to silence it. It doesn't mean that I have to unfollow the person because I still wish them well. But
you don't
maybe
allow,
now, it's just,
right?
It's not good for me. So we have to be very precise with what we bring into our worlds and how we move with our attention, because this is all we got. The energy goes where our attention goes. So be very, very cautious about where you put your attention. That's my advice.
And based on what you say, right? It's like, it's allowing what you allow to be part of your life.
It's always a
essentially.
choice, and we have to be aware of that. It's the world is not doing anything to us. We allow it to happen. I don't watch TV. I don't even have like the satellite. I don't. Because I choose not to, and I choose not to watch news because I don't want to be scared, and I don't want to be controlled by my fear through the news choices that are made by TV stations. So it's always a choice, and we can choose what we watch.
All of this ties pretty well into this idea of perfectionism, right? If you compare yourself to others, that person is leading a perfect life. Sort of.
Well, they never do.
That's the case, but that's the idea you have many times when you watch.
But you know what? We have to stop. We have to stop our imagination to go beyond what we rationally know. We know that the Instagram account is just a little piece of someone's life, and so many times,
a fraction really,
and so many times it happens that we saw somebody's perfect marriage or family, and just to discover 2 weeks later that they are getting divorced. So we know consciously and rationally that this is not the case. So we should start using that knowledge, right?
Yeah. This idea of comparison, it ties to perfectionism. Many of us are perfectionists. I include myself here too. Now, less so now, I think. But we are control freaks, I believe many times. And just because we're bombarded by that, it only amplifies that. I think you might relate to that too. Is it hard to let go?
It is hard to let
of
go.
Anything?
Of course. It is hard. If it was easy, we would all do it because it's actually a straight path to happiness, being able to let go. Being able to recognize what are the areas that we can influence and what the areas that we cannot influence are, and stop caring about those. And I will tell you one thing: the only thing that we really, 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 really can control is our own reactions to whatever happens.
Control people's reactions.
Only our own. We cannot control what people think of us. We cannot control what people say. We cannot control if people like us, appreciate us, if people think that we're worthy or that we're professional. We cannot control events. You cannot control if people like this episode. You cannot control if you're going to get a job or not get a job. You can still do everything in your power to gain whatever you want, but you have no control over the outcome. What you can control, though, is how you respond to it. And that's what we should concentrate on.
About 20% of people will never really like you. That's another
You mean
study.
me or in general?
In general. 20%, that's 1/5. And there's nothing you can do about it, right? Whatever you do, they will just not simply like you. And I think this...
Do you still have that desire of people liking you?
Not really. I used to have it very much. But isn't it liberating, though? Just this feeling that not everybody will like you. I think knowing that... And
you know what's liberating?
What is liberating?
Liberating is knowing that if you have personality, like real personality, if you're colorful, then obviously some people are going to be attracted to it, and those are your people. And some people are going to be repelled by it. And that's the way it should be, because you can only be liked by majority if you like somebody who doesn't really have any kind of opinion, color, is not very unique, but also like polarizing. If you're not polarizing, that means you're not really interesting. And also there was another statement, I think it was credited to not Dustin Hoffman, but Anthony Hopkins. I'm not sure if he was actually the one who said it, but it was very profound, that if you're disliked, that means that at least once in your life, you stood up for something, for yourself, for other people, for an idea, for something, you did something right. Because obviously you're going to polarize people if you say something that's strong-minded. Be the strong-minded person that's going to be disliked by some.
Have your own opinion.
Yeah, don't be like nobody. That if there's nobody that dislikes you, that means you're plain, right? You're plain.
We don't want to be plain.
Of course not.
Letting go of things. It's a theme that pops up in your book. I want to touch upon that still. If you were to tell us, how did you learn to let go of things? What did that journey look like?
Oh gosh,
it's not obvious, is it? I mean, if you think about it, right?
Oh gosh, it was a hard one. I do not advise to use my way because it was my life simply fell apart at some point. The life that I was trying so carefully and so with a lot of effort, I tried to make my life as I imagined it would be the perfect life.
The polished version of it.
Not the polished version, but what I imagined had to be there for me to be happy. With the job that I had, with the family that didn't work the first time, but I was trying to create a family second time around. And with my partner leaving me 3 weeks after. Actually, it started getting bad it was perfect before. Once I got pregnant, it started being challenging with him leaving when my daughter was 3 weeks old, and everything fell apart. And it was a hard one. And it just made me realize that you can do everything right in your own idea of right. And you can, what's the word in English?
Po polsku.
Przekroczyć się. How would you say that in English? You can
cross
all your boundaries and sacrifice yourself for the partner and his expectations, and it may still not work. There's nothing in my power at the end of the day to make the relationship happen if there's no interest of the same direction.
Mutual, right.
Yeah, from the other side. So that was a lesson. That was a tough one. That was a huge lesson. And then I realized that even though nothing is perfect at that moment, I just had to start finding little moments of joy. And to sort of, when I reached the bottom, to start coming back up, I had to discover, and I did discover, well, first of all, I discovered meditation. Second of all, I discovered gratitude.
Mm.
So at this moment of the real sorrow and the lowest point in my life, I discovered that I still have things that I can hold on to, and I still have my little kids and a lot of other things actually to be grateful for. And finding that little happiness, the little drop of happiness, and then more drops of happiness in that very difficult situation was my beginning of learning of that power of letting go, because it's a very powerful concept. It's not an easy one, because you have to let go of all your expectations of how things should be. You have to let go of control of the outcome of your circumstances. You have to be able to trust that there's something greater leading all this, that there will be good solution even if you don't come up with it. If you let go and let the universe lead, you may end up in a better place that you could imagine for yourself. But it just takes that little first step. So if somebody does not go through something as challenging as I did, which I don't wish upon anybody, even though that's a very fast way of getting there, it's just a matter of making little small decisions. Like maybe today I'm not gonna control what I'm gonna eat in the restaurant. Maybe I'm gonna ask the waiter to advise to recommend something and I'm going to eat it even though it would not be my choice. So start making those little decisions of not controlling every little thing in your life. And it becomes easier to let go. Also realizing that if you hold on to things, you just sort of give away so much of your energy and of your power because everything that you hold on to holds you as well. So you're not free to go wherever the wind blows.
As a reminder of letting go, I got myself my first tattoo. I want to show it to you now. It's a stick on a wave.
I saw that when you said here. Yeah,
and
it's a nice
sticks
one.
never drown, you see. They always float.
Yeah.
And the waves are ups and downs of life. They can be big ones or also small ones. Sometimes the sea is silent. But that's my reminder that at the end of the day, you never drown. You always float. And you should just let go. You also have a tattoo that's quite symbolic. It's a lotus flower.
Let me just add one thing.
Go ahead.
That's a good one because you have to like lie down in the water. If you fight the waves, you're gonna drown. But if you just stay afloat, then
it will take you somewhere.
Exactly.
Somewhere nice.
And you're gonna survive.
Speaking of your tattoo.
Yes.
A lotus flower. It's also symbolic. And I feel like, well, it's a question I have for you, but my question essentially is, what does it mean to you? I know the answer, but what does it mean to you? It relates to this aspect of change.
Yes, I had that done without knowing the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
It's a story that I shared in my book, as you know, because I brought it from Guatemala, where I went for a yoga retreat. And I went on a psilocybin ceremony, which was profound, which was brought a huge change in the way I see things. It was a profound experience, but in the past, I would always say that I would never get a tattoo because why would you paint on your own body? What if you get bored with it? You can't do anything with the tattoo. It's there forever.
Yeah.
And so at this retreat, I met this girl, Sarah. She was from the United States. She was like an English teacher from New Orleans, and she had 25 of those tattoos. And she told me that we were in this like little yoga place, 30 minutes away from the smallest town. Mm-hmm. So we were just staying there, not interacting with civilization, just watching birds for a week. And then after a week, it was beautiful. After a week, she said, let's go down to the town. So we did go down to the town. It was already after my the psilocybin ceremony. And she said to me, do you know what? Maybe I'll get another tattoo. And then she said, do you know what? Maybe. So we were looking around. There were a few tattoo places in town. And then she said, but you know what? My husband, he's going to really get mad because he always gets mad when I get another tattoo because he's a tattoo artist. So whenever I get a tattoo that's not done by him, he gets really annoyed. And then suddenly in my head, I got this message. I said it out loud, but I didn't want to say it. I said, if you're not going to get one, I'm getting one. And then I realized that the sentences that I had in my head, like, I'm not going to draw on my own body. I'm going to get bored with it. And what am I going to do with it? It wasn't me. So suddenly after this psilocybin ceremony, I managed to differentiate the voices of other people from my own voice. And so I realized it was my mother who would say that. Funny enough, when I came back with the tattoo, she never said anything to me. But she said to my daughter, my daughters came after visiting the grandma, they said to me, you know what grandma said? She said, it's stupid that you've done the tattoo because why would you draw on your own body? And what if you get bored with it? I was like, yeah.
That's the voice I heard.
Yeah, that sounds about
familiar.
Right. Sounds about right. So anyway, and we went to this place and I said, listen, so I'm just going to let the universe lead. If I'm going to see something I like, and if I like the guy, I'm going to do it. So then I saw this little lotus flower, and my friend Sarah, who had 25 tattoos of the weirdest shit on her body, she said to me, "Oh, come on, the lotus flower. This is what every girl, every sweet American blonde girl brings from the first journey to Thailand." And I said, "But I feel it's speaking to me. It's speaking to me. I have to get this one." And we went back after like 2 hours. It was a really long one. It was very painful too. So we went back to our little place on the hill, and one of the girls that was there with us, we were strangers, but one of the girls that was on the same retreat, she said, "Oh, this is like the symbol of rebirth." So I thought it was just meant to happen. I didn't know it, but it was an obvious choice, an obvious message that I would put on my back had I known that.
So rebirth, it also relates to change, right? But there is no change without awareness.
Of course.
How did you gain that awareness yourself? Because again, it's not an easy task, is it? To be aware of your difficulties. It's an uncomfortable place. You don't want to get there.
Of course you don't.
How did you gain that awareness?
Many people never do. That's why the alcohol, that's why the external validation, that's why the success, that's why extreme sport. This is all about not listening to what's happening inside. I never really had that. I always heard the voice inside. It was a painful experience because at first you don't recognize. And you don't have the capacity to deal with I didn't have the capacity to deal with the amount of pain and the darkness that was inside. So first years of the slow awareness that was like knocking on my door, I was becoming aware of things, but I was unable to resolve it. I was not unable still to look at it, to feel it. Because the pain that's there, that has been buried, it has to be felt. It has to be felt. The emotions, they have to be seen and they have to be experienced. But
acknowledged.
Not only acknowledged, it cannot be intellectual. It has to be physically felt. You have to feel it. There's no other way. There's no escape. So I knew at some point already that those issues are there, but I was unable to. I was still not strong enough to look there. So I was in therapy for years, intellectually talking about it, thinking about it, putting those puzzles together. At some point I already had like a clear picture because awareness is only the first step. You may have the awareness. At some point in therapy, I was already, okay, I know everything now. I know where it came from. I know my story. I can connect the dots, but it still doesn't change the pattern of my behavior. I still don't have enough space between the trigger and the reaction. I still react automatically. That was the challenge, the real challenge. So I was gaining the awareness for years, but the difficult life situations that I faced, the one that I mentioned with my partner leaving me, that was the turning point. That was the turning point because the pain was so gigantic, enormous, that suddenly there was no point in fighting it anymore. I couldn't. So I just let myself feel that pain. But the paradox is, and the trick is that the until you deal with the pain from the past, all the present pains, they're only echoes of the old pain. So it's not really about the situation today, because your reaction is so gigantic, because it's just puts you back in time and you remember the pain from the past. Because the universe does not hate us. It doesn't bring us all those difficulties to punish us. It brings them for you to be able to finally connect the dots and to rediscover the old pain so you can bring it to the light and deal with it finally for good. Clear all these stocked emotions within your body and within your soul and start living fully, start breathing fully. So that happened. And I just figured I may as well face the old ones because I'm already a mess. So I allowed myself to be the mess for quite a while. And I started meditating. That was my most important tool in my awakening, in the whole change that happened for me, because it created the space that I needed between the trigger and the reaction. So I started I became so calm and peaceful. And once I gained that peace and the stillness, I was like, oh my God, this is so pleasant. I don't want to be triggered anymore. I was so angry, I was so angry. But anger is just the first layer. Beyond that, there's sadness and there's fear and a lot of pain. So I was always angry because anger is more...
It's the first reaction.
But also it gives you power, sense of power. Like I'm
Control, power.
Yes. I'm not that little sad, broken girl, but I like someone is going to trigger me, I'm going to scream at them, right? But the sad girl is underneath the anger. But once I started meditating, the anger went away. I was suddenly just maybe not happy, because I was at first I was very surprised by the stillness and the peace. I was like, that's weird. Am I ever going to get motivated by anything? Am I ever going to be like, am I ever going to get that drive back? Because I was just like, whatever. But it was nice in a way, because as I said, it created that gap between the trigger, like someone is gonna cut me off on the road. Someone is gonna try to disrespect me. Someone is gonna offend my child. And I managed to create that space to make a conscious decision, how I want to react to that situation. What reaction is gonna be best in terms of the outcome that I'm hoping for. Not the crazy girl that's going to get triggered and is going to scream at someone or get offended or whatever. Because I was like the victim of circumstances. And then suddenly, thanks to meditating, I became like the boss of my life, like the boss of my emotions. Suddenly I'm like, you're not going to trigger me. My peace is too valuable. I'm not going to react to this. You're not going to offend me because it's me making the decision. You may say something that is intended, you may have an intention to offend me, but I still have the decision if I'm going to ignore it, maybe.
I am the decision maker at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. Anya, you say that happiness is a conscious choice. It's something you choose, you strive for, and you choose it, right? But there are people who say that some people are more lucky than others.
It's just an excuse.
Do you think that people who didn't have such luck at the beginning, right, who are not so privileged, let's put it this way, can they still achieve true happiness?
Everybody, it's accessible.
To everyone.
It's there for everyone. But we have to establish first what do you mean by privileged? What do you mean by that? Because there are plenty of happy people,
right.
Poor people in Africa, and very unhappy people in Monte Carlo.
Right.
I always say there's going to be a person sitting in a Mazurska wieś, living in a wooden house, being happy about storks coming back in the spring. And there's going to be a very unhappy person living in a villa in Monte Carlo, being unhappy that the neighbor has 2 helicopters and they only have 1. So in that way, it is a personal choice. We are all very privileged and very lucky because we're here. No, not
So
everybody.
privilege by default.
Well,
isn't
not
it?
everybody got to be born. Do you know what's the probability of you being born? You as specific you, apart from your parents that may have never met, but they did.
Which is also
But also them conceiving you on a specific day with that plemnik and that komórka jajowa meeting. It's like,
yeah.
it's
It's a privilege
a
by
va-
itself.
yeah. So
right?
you get that gift
Hmm.
of life and it's your personal choice. What do you make with it? What do you choose to do every day? If you choose to be happy and grateful and content, and if you choose to be a good person, treating others with respect, or if you're going to be bitter about the fact that you're not as rich as your neighbor, or that you don't have those 2 helicopters, or you may be angry about something valid, like your husband died, or you're broke, or something may have. I mean, I do understand that some people face challenges. I had my share of challenges, but I do understand that some people face challenges. I'm not undermining the experience.
Hmm.
I'm just saying this is the challenge that you have to face either way. You may face it with bitterness, or you may face it with a different attitude. I am still gonna try to make the most of what I got, to make the most of my circumstances. And it is a personal choice, and it's the choice that you make every day.
Hmm.
Every day you may decide you're going to be happy, because happiness is not something you can plan for the future. Happiness is not something you achieve in the future. Happiness can only be felt and experienced here, now, today. And if nothing that you planned to achieve or nothing that you gained in the past brought you happiness, that there's not going to be anything else that's going to bring you happiness. You can just make the decision.
You brought this idea of living here and now, huh? Bycie tu I teraz.
Yeah, exactly.
Something I struggle with a lot because I live in the future.
It needs to be practiced.
Right. I don't live in the past. You see, I live in the future. But you say in your book also that it's a skill. It's a skill you can acquire. I want to know, how can we learn that skill? Is there like a one recipe, one size fits approach? There isn't, right?
No, there isn't.
But if you were to say, since it's a skill, how can we start learning that skill?
It's best to start from really enjoyable moments that you experience. You're on the beach or at the beach. You're taking a walk in a park or in the woods. Just try to experience your experience. Try to feel.
Closing my eyes and I'm imagining it as you say it. Yeah.
Try not to comment because we tend to do that. Even if we enjoy ourselves, we tend to always have a commentary
In the back
in
of
our
your
heads,
head.
like, oh, it's such a nice day. Oh, the sun is really nice. I wish I wore a sweater because it's a little bit cold. I wish there was less people because it's so crowded in this park. Whatever it is, we tend to narrate the situation. So whenever you catch yourself doing it, try to stop and concentrate on the experience and all your senses. What you smell. How does the wind feel on your face? What you feel under your feet. What you see. But just experience it.
Senses.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes at the beginning, it may be really difficult. It may be just, even if it's just 10 seconds, that you manage to do that, really do that for 10 seconds. The next time, try to make it 15. Next time, try to make it 30. Try to do it whenever you're with people that you like your friend. Like I'm sitting here now with you, thinking this is the experience that's going to end soon. And if I'm not fully present in that experience, looking into your eyes and being happy about the moment that we share, the connection that we have, then how am I'm gonna miss all those little moments in life, right? So the pleasure of being in someone's company, instead of making plans for whatever you're gonna do later that day, just be in the moment. What also helps is savoring. That's the word in English for it. Being the observed, kind of like raising up
Above
the scene here, and being the observer, thinking, wow, this is the moment that I was dreaming about for many years, and now it's happening. Like taking the emotional snapshot.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm doing it now.
So this brings this is not exactly being here now, but it just brings your happiness levels up if you sort of teach yourself to do that on daily basis.
It did. It just worked for me, I have to say.
I'm glad.
Anya, if we focus too much on the present, isn't it harder to make good decisions in the future? I'll tell you what I think. So on one hand, my rational side says, no, you need to plan everything out, right? Like that's the path you should take. But on the other hand, I know that everything does happen for a reason. And everything that I had done in the past has brought me to this place where I am at now. Like I'm having this conversation with you just because I studied abroad, I lived abroad, I started doing my content there, and then it falls, like all the puzzles, it just, cała ta układanka się układa sama w sobie now. But it's just that I strongly believe that everything happens for a reason. Are you also this believer? Do you believe that things happen for a reason?
I do believe that there's something greater leading all this. And the rational side, you can throw it out of the window. That's what I think. You know what helped me to do that? There's this great guy called Michael Singer. He's this meditator, Buddhist, American guy. He wrote 3 books. Read them. He's amazing. Well, he gives those lectures. He has his own community in Florida called the Temple of the Universe. And he talks about the awareness, the self-development in a very simple way, but very powerful, very funny too. And he said something that just resonated with me. He said, you think that your brain is 25, right? Or 26, 25. So you think that 25-year-old brain knows better than the universe that just was created in such perfect way for like centuries, right? Like thousands, 100,000 years. All the pierwiastki, they were created in such a perfect way so everything could start existing.
Right.
And then there's Earth. And everything is perfect here, right? The atmosphere, the amount of oxygen, the plants, the animals, and everything happens in such like perfect way. The seasons, they come each year in the same sort of cycle. And the human being with the DNA information is being created from something that small. And there is the higher intelligence that's leading all this. And the moment that it's in front of you was created from all that cycle. For this moment to exist, all this had to happen. And you think you know better where you should go with your 25-year-old brain? Like, seriously? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It was something like that. But it just spoke to me. And I thought, well, this is just ego speaking, that I know better how it should be. Maybe there is a better plan for me. Maybe something greater that I could even imagine in my limited brain.
Capacity.
So that just helped me to sort of let go and be more trust the process and trust the universe. The God, universe, however we want to call it, because it's just the different names of the same thing.
Partnerem podcastu jest Tutlo, szkoła angielskiego online, która tak jak ja pomaga przełamywać bariery w mówieniu.
We're going to be slowly wrapping up. One of the last points I'd like to discuss is something that really stood out to me. I read it and I was just struck by it. You say that we overuse the word problem. Nowadays, everything is a problem. I have a problem. My pen is not working. I have a problem. My car won't start. You say we can use alternatives. Let me read them. You say we can say challenge or situation to be solved.
Or even issue is better.
Even
than
issue is
problem.
better. It has a better connotation.
Yeah.
But it's the connotation of the words that then have an impact on how we see the situation.
Listen, the words, they create our reality. It's like with the Eskimo, they have how many words for snow? Like 100 or something. And it was proven that if a certain language does not have a word for something, the thing is not going to be important to people because they don't have a word for it. So why would they? It doesn't come to their awareness, consciousness, right? What was the question? Because I didn't let you finish.
Has this approach helped you in any way?
Yeah,
Just to,
of course.
I guess, changing the not the narrative, right, but the connotation of
I
words.
took it further. Actually, I'm
Where did
writing
you
this
take
I'm writing my next book now, and I took it further. I actually think that we can rewrite our whole story with changing the narrative. You can rewrite every situation. It's just about the narrative. It's like with the thing that you started with, people not liking you. You may say, there's something wrong with me. People don't like me. Or you can say, of course they don't like me because I'm so colorful. And it's just going to completely shift your experience.
Just like that, right?
Yeah. And do you know what? Both of those can be true or neither. It doesn't matter what's true. What matters is just it uplifts you. There's no one reality. There's no objective reality. Everyone has their own reality. So build your own reality in a way that's going to support you, not put you down. Why would you do it to yourself? Right?
Right. Even through this small zabieg językowy, right? Where we change the narrative of some words. I think it's very uplifting and very...
Just throw away some words.
Right.
Throw
Out of the
away some
window.
words, and then you can completely rewrite your own history. Like once your biography, once you deal with issues that you need to deal with, because those difficult emotions that we have, they have to be addressed, they have to be felt, as I said. But once you do that, stop putting the blame on your parents. Stop concentrating on the problems that you had. We all had some problems at home. Then you can concentrate, for instance, on the fantastic grandmother that you had, or the grandfather who was like, I don't know, fought in the war or was a pilot or was a great builder or whatever. And then suddenly you can create your own biography or your own history from all those little bits and pieces of your story that they're gonna blow in your wings. They're gonna give you strength to sort of say, yes, I am powerful and I have a great gene pool and I'm gonna do something extraordinary with it, right?
I tell you what, I'm looking forward to reading that book for sure. Wrapping up, and since we're speaking of language, we have the last question from Tutlo, which is the sponsor of our episode. They wanted me to take us back to London, so we're closing that. But they want to know, because this is the city where basically your career took off, right? It was there when you started interviewing some of the greatest actors in the world, not only actors, but actors. How did your knowledge of English shape the first experiences? Do you remember your first interview in English? What was it like?
I do remember, of course I do. It was Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson.
What was it like?
It was amazing. I mean, it was the moment when I discovered that this is something that I'm very good at, that this is a very natural setup for me, because it's not very easy to conduct an interview when you only have 4 minutes and you have to make there
we
has
have plenty
to be
of time
something.
here, but right, 4 minutes?
It's not easy. It's not easy, but it turned out, plus it's very stressful. It's a difficult situation, and it turned out at that point that it doesn't, I mean, the stress that I do feel, that it just doesn't downgrade my my ability. To the contrary, it just
Quite the
gave me
opposite.
that, it gave me the boost. And it just turned out that this was like the perfect kind of job for me. And it gave me a lot of, it gave me a boost of confidence. Yeah, very much. So.
Ania, to była piękna rozmowa. Bardzo ci za nią dziękuję.
Thank you very
Piąteczka.
much.
Mamy
My
to.
first interview in English. Woo. Ciekawe doświadczenie.